Good afternoon. I know I'm giving you from lunch, but we're not a lot of people here, so if you would like to come forward closer, that would be nice of you, I guess. My name is Mo Salah, and I started my career. I spent most of my career in a startup ecosystem, working with startup clients, C-Stars, Techstars, Break. I also mentor with several entities across the ecosystem. I have a BA in Computer Science and Business Administration. Sorry about that. I work now for Startup Client. Startup Client is the world's largest community of entrepreneurship. We have 4 million people around the world in 125 countries in over than 600 cities. If you're based out of Manama, we have a chapter in Manama. Just go to startupclient.com/Manama and you can join our community. Today I'm going to talk about getting your first check, and taking into consideration the little amount of time I have, I'm going to split that conversation into 3 parts. Before fundraising, while fundraising, and after fundraising. And I'm going to break this into questions you have to ask yourself and things you have to do. The first question is, am I building a startup? Most of the founders who are seeking VC money are usually not VC backed. They're either building lifestyle businesses, small and medium businesses that cannot be in any way backed by a VC. A VC is a venture capital. It's a form of funding. It is only applicable to startups. And startup is a rapidly growing tech-enabled company. So a shop or a company that its owner is not seeking to grow it rapidly should not be seeking VC money. Second question is, why I'm building a startup? Usually VCs are looking for people who are going to change the world, because they're fundamentally looking for unicorns. So if you want to start a startup to be rich, 99% you're not going to achieve that goal building a startup, because that's basically your percentage or the case of you failing. The question after that is, do I have a VC backable business model? Usually it's not only any startup, but like startups need to have specific kind of business models that are usually either SaaS, usually B2B. They're usually business models that allows that company to grow rapidly and have less barriers to expand. And that growth cannot be hindered by, let's say, physical obstacles, for example, or you cannot grow easily. So think of it, YouTube versus Starbucks. Question after that is, do I serve a market that allows me to build $1 billion company? If I don't have a market that is a minimum of a $1 billion company, VCs will not give you money. The reason for that is not you, it's them. Their model is extremely risky, that they cannot take risks below that number. Because, as I said, 90-95% are going to fail. So, in an eye of a VC, you need to bring the money they gave you and the money they gave to the others. Because the chance of the others failing is, or you failing, is extremely high. Question after that is, do I have the right team? If you're a seed stage company, and this presentation is made for founders who are getting basically their first check, the one thing we have to actually evaluate you is you and your team. And that evaluation the weight of evaluating you and your team would be easily 60-70% of the process of making that decision. So if you're building a company that is a fintech, for example, try to have a co-founder who spend time banking, or try to have co-founders who complement you. Question after that is, how much money do I have to raise? And that's a question a lot of people don't actually have an answer to when they start fundraising. Because In so many parts of the world, we look at fundraising as an achievement. And it's not. You're actually selling your potential. You should not be doing it unless you actually need it. So you have to figure out the next question. How am I planning to spend the money to be able to determine how much money do you actually need for that round? After that, you have to determine who can give you money. And who can give you money is extremely important because also it depends on so many factors. Number one is how much I'm raising. So if you're raising at $50,000, it's very different from raising $500,000. And if you're raising in a specific industry, like fintech, for example, or insurtech, or whatever the industry is, you're going to go to different investors and who invest in different stages and invest in different industries. So if you're looking for $50,000, you're most probably going to go to an angel network or a couple of angels. But if you're looking for 100K plus, you're most probably going to go for an accelerator or an early stage fund. So you have to determine who's giving me money, because most of founders will spend so much time talking to the wrong investors who will never give them money because investors have theses and those theses are their Bible and they will not break it for you or for anyone else. Next is wild fundraising. We figured out all the previous questions and now we decided we're going to go outside and we're going to actually shop for money or basically sell our shares. First question is, do I have a healthy cap table? One of the main reasons in the Middle East for startups not getting money, despite investors either liking the team or liking the idea or the business, is the fact that they have a very bad cap table. From having 6 co-founders who have equally shares in the company, which is, I think, doesn't make any sense. Number one. Or they got an angel investor who got 40% of the company because he's a strategic investor, advisors. And we see this a lot. Question number 2 is, do I have the right legal framework? Most countries in the region, laws doesn't support VCs the way they invest. So for example, a very famous example in the region is ADGM. If you want to accelerate the process, be somewhere where I legally can give you the money fast. Am I talking to the right venture capitalist? In that part, you have to look into, do they invest in my stage? Do they invest in my industry? Do they have companies that compete with me? And do they invest in the competitors of their companies or not? Because, for example, many early stage companies will invest in the same idea across different markets, across different, even within the same market. But later stage funds usually don't do that because they don't basically the right to give chickens. And it doesn't make any sense for them to fuel an idea that most probably is going to hurt one of their businesses. The question after that is, am I getting introduced to VCs in the right way? And it's a key. Because if you're going to keep sending cold emails, you're not going to get a lot of responses. It's a very personal thing. So if you know that I know an investor you want to talk to, you should never approach that investor and you should come to me and like, hi, I want to raise from that investor. Please introduce me to them. It takes partially a bit of the due diligence that you're going to make in you because there's someone they trust is recommending you. Okay? Do venture capitalists understand my business? Venture capitalists are finance people in most cases. And what we don't do as founders in most of the cases is we don't try to educate them on the industry they're about to invest in or why our company is important, or we simply are not good at pitching our ideas to them. And that can be extremely hurtful. I meet a lot of great founders who are just not getting their message through. The thing after that, do I have the right lead investor? Having a lead investor who is strong, trusted, and well connected can make your life easier than ever. Just think of it as if you're most resourceful friend who can literally just call anyone and get anything done. You think of that person and look for a lead investor who's in a way like that. Because that first check is the hardest one to get. And the first person giving you that check should be able to help you with the checks after that. Do I have the right valuation? If you're at seed, pre-seed, life is easy now. Just do a safe note. We don't have to fight over something that we don't need to fight over, at least today. Over the next round, we can fight about it. After that, do I have a good lawyer? Majority of companies they don't have a lawyer. And VCs are nice, but that is a transactional relationship. They're trying to get the best deal out there. You should also be trying to get the best deal out there and the best term sheet out there. And you cannot do this without a lawyer, especially in our region where mostly young, mostly founders are young, and mostly doesn't have great corporate long-term growth experience. Have a lawyer. After that, let's go to after fundraising. First one is, and my favorite one. Am I sending follow-ups to the investors who said no to me? A lot of founders will just ignore every founder who said no. And that doesn't make any sense because someone said no yesterday, might say yes in the next round. In order for you to get those people to say yes, you need to keep getting updates from them. You need to keep telling them your story and what you're actually achieving. The second one is, am I sending quarterly, annually reports to my investors? A lot of people neglect that, don't really focus on it, especially in early stage when they raise money from VCs and have hundreds of thousands of companies on board. If you want your VC to help you, you need to communicate with your VC. Where are you right now, and what do you need next? When do I need to fundraise next? That's a very big question you need to answer even if you finish the current funding round you have. And also, how much money do I need for my next round? And definitely, what I'm going to do with that money. A very important question to ask yourself after finishing fundraising and thinking of your next round: can my current investors join my next round? Because if the easiest people, they will said yes before, it should be easier for them to say yes again. That doesn't happen most of the cases because you're no longer in their thesis. Some of them are just early stage, where they only write the first check, or they're angel investors, and your valuation right now doesn't make any sense to them anymore. So that's a good thing to determine. And usually you will have at least one or two of your existing investors who are willing to give you another check. And many early stage funds now have follow-up funds because they want to make sure you're sustainable and your company, if things go hard, they still can write you another check. Am I converting safe notes? That on the next round. I have seen companies and really good companies in the Middle East shut down because the converting on those safe notes didn't happen in the right way. Didn't happen the way it was planned to, or they actually had bad safe notes with bad terms. The next one is, am I going to have a board of directors? Because you're now basically converting your notes, everyone's going to have a board of your company now officially, and we have a valuation and stuff. Sometimes companies can skip that for a round or two before needing to have a board of directors. Also, that depends on how much you need, how much is basically how much you're raising, how much you already raised in the previous rounds, who's your investors, do you need a board or not? Are those investors institutional or people who are new in the game and going to mandate you to give them boards? Because many proper institutional investors on such early stage will not really ask for a board of directors because they have hundreds or thousands of them in their portfolios and they don't have the time to sit in each company's board. few things to keep in mind. Number one, fundraising is hard, and it got harder since 2021. There was a lot of money sprayed in 2020 and 2021, hoping that the world that COVID created will continue with us in the same scale. It didn't happen. Most companies' valuation went down. Due diligence is being done differently and harshly. We have seen a lot of companies collapse, a lot of funds losing their returns. So the guys are being extra cautious these days. Two, it takes a lot of time to fundraise. So if you need money in 6 months, you better start today. I would say if you need money in a year, you better start today in the current climate. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Next is you have no privacy. So try not to lie to people you're fundraising from, because they're just gonna simply talk to each other, and they most probably meet every day, and you don't know about that. So if you have a term sheet or you have an offer from an investor, and you want to communicate it to another investor, communicate it exactly the way it is, because if you do otherwise, you'll just basically give each other a call, you'll discuss it, and you will be caught lying, and it's not a great start for your fundraising journey. Money isn't all the same. So, and it's a tricky part. There's so many investors. I would call their money bad money. And your co-founders are much easier to be fired from your company than your investors. You can actually get the divorce way easier than getting rid of one of your bad investors. Think of it as a Catholic marriage. So make sure you're getting money from people you can spend the next 10 years of your company with. Lawyers can protect you, touch on that. Don't freak your investors out. Don't lie to them. Don't share information in a way that makes them worried. Don't share information in a way that makes them question you or question what you're doing. Spend time educating them. Spend time helping them benchmark you against other startups. You need to understand the power also of fear of missing out. In the VC world, fear of missing out still plays a massive role in how quick the decisions is going to be taken. Also, don't underestimate the power of your thought leadership. If you're in the real estate industry, I'm expecting you as a founder in that industry to be a thought leader in that industry. If you are not, I'm going to be worried that you can actually achieve what you're telling me you're going to achieve. Don't give too much equity. That's your potential. That's your future. That's the one currency you have as a founder. There is no such thing as strategic investors. Someone is going to come and tell you, I'm going to introduce you to those people. They will have to do this forcibly once they give you the money. It becomes their job. It becomes their business. They have to make it a success. You price your shares, and let's say a share is $1. You cannot just give it to someone for 50 cents because he's going to introduce you to someone or going to advise you in whatsoever way. If you want to get an advisor, okay, I'll go to the advisors in a bit. Or your co-founders and your employees' shares have to be vested and with a cliff. Vesting is basically, let's say I agreed with my CTO, I'm going to give them 15% of my company. You cannot get the 15% today. They're going to get this 15% vested over the next 3 or 5 years. So every year he gets 3%. That's one. 2, with a cliff. So if he leaves a company within the first year or the first 2 years, he loses all his shares. That's very, very important. Last one is advisors must get less than 0.5% equity. That's the extreme. The global average is 0.2%. So an advisor walking into a room telling you to give them 10%, 5%, 2%, even 1%, just simply don't do it. It's a bad thing and it will fire back on you when you're doing your next round. Next. Okay. Fundraising is hard, as I said. Those are 3 books that I think everyone fundraising should be reading, starting with the same order. Venture Deals is your Bible, and there is a course that by the author and Texters and Kaufman Phillips, explaining how the book works. I would still recommend reading the book. It has more, I would say, more details. The other 2 books are basically authored by the current CEO of Anders Sports and the founder of Anders Sports. The hard thing about hard things are basically explaining and getting you comfortable with the fact that what you're doing and what you're about to do is hard. That's not going to get easy. It's most probably going to get hard. That's the course I mentioned, and you can do Startup School by YC. They share a lot of information on how the program is short. They share a lot of information on how you can fundraise in a healthy way that doesn't hurt you in the future. Speaking of YC is located in Silicon Valley. Startup Mind runs the largest startups conference in Silicon Valley. You guys can join us in April. And if you're based in Manama, we will have a chapter in Bahrain. So you can go to startuprind.com/Manama if you would like to join our community. Thank you so much for having me, and you can reach out to me